The government is set to kick off the COVID-19 vaccination drive for children age 5 to 11 years old tomorrow. Let's talk more about this with infectious disease specialist and pediatrician. Dr. Benjamin Ko is joining us over the phone this evening. Dr. Ko, good evening.
Hello, magandang gabi po, Riza.
Doc, magandang gabi. First off, gusto po naming makuha ang inyong opinion, your sentiment on, again, vaccinating ito pong age group from 5 years old to 11. Do you think, Doc, this is timely or we could have waited for further assessments? Kinakailangan pa po ba yun?
Well, the vaccine is already available and there is emergency use authorization approval. This is already approved also in other parts of the world. So I think it is time that it's very timely that the Philippines has access to vaccines for this age group. You have to remember, ito yung age group na mataas po ang probability na magkaroon sila ng multi-system inflammatory syndrome. And it is this age group that is at highest risk. It's a complication you get from developing COVID, even if the patients have mild or asymptomatic COVID in the beginning.
Doc Benjamin, there's a petition to cancel the drive, and the petition would state na ito pong stage ito is experimental and unconstitutional. We'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Well, being experimental, I don't think it is appropriate to use that word because it already has emergency use authorization. 1, 2. The clinical trials have already determined its safety and efficacy. So we already know data that, and that's why I'm saying it, that patients children from 5 to 11 years old who get vaccinated are at 91% lesser risk of developing the MIS-C, or the multi-system inflammatory syndrome, which we see in children in this particular age group. So there's a higher protective efficacy for this vaccine. That's 1. 2, being unconstitutional. I don't know. I'm not a legal person, so I cannot give my opinion regarding its unconstitutionality. But I would feel that if you withheld appropriate treatment being available or preventive measures being available to people, then that would be unconstitutional as well.
Then, Doc, with that being said, what else can the government do? What do you think the government can do to improve information drive and to further ease the vaccine hesitancy among parents?
Well, I think the Philippine Pediatric Society and the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines will have a media briefing, I think sometime next week. And it would be good that everybody stay attuned to the briefing that is going to be provided by both the PPS, the PIDSP, and I think the PMA will want to chime in as well. It would be nice if the Department of Health would be around so that they can answer questions on the legality and any legal issues that surround it. But for now, I understand that this age group this is not mandatory. This is not something that you will force people to do. And having said that, then I guess for me, the parents still have the option to discuss any issues that surround them regarding safety, efficacy, and any other questions they may have regarding the vaccine.
Doc, can you explain to us, especially to the parents that are watching, what could be the possible side effects? Should kids experience something? Which one among those that will be experienced would be considered serious? And which ones would be, let's say, needed for hospitalization already?
Well, any anaphylactic reaction, when you say anaphylactic, that means the development a sudden allergic reaction to the vaccine. Would be one that will require hospitalization and attention, but that is similar to adults. As a matter of fact, if you look at the pediatric population, there are less side effects there are less systemic side effects compared to adults. And most of the adverse events that occur in children are usually local. So at the site of injection, it is painful, there's a little swelling, just like any other vaccine that is provided in kids, a little fever, yun.
Doc, can we also get your insight on another matter, the COVID-19 treatment that is currently under study, like the molnupiravir? What's the latest on this?
Molnupiravir is available now as emergency use authorization also for patients who are at high risk of developing COVID and they're high risk of developing severe infections due to COVID. So there is already an EUA that is approved for its use. Usually ito yung mga elderly, those that have comorbids, those that that are unvaccinated and then they get COVID. Molnupiravir is available for treatment of COVID infections. Now, there is another study that is being done, and this is the post-exposure prophylaxis. This part of the study looks at whether if you get exposed to somebody who has COVID, can you take the drug so that you don't get infected? But it's under a clinical trial now. So the approved indication for now is that if you have COVID, then you are a good candidate to receive molnupiravir, especially if you're at high risk of developing severe infection. But it is not yet approved as post-exposure prophylaxis. There are 2 centers that are doing the clinical trial for the Philippines as part of the global trial. And those 2 centers are Quirino Medical Center and Asian Hospital and Medical Center.
A final matter, Doc. How about the country's planned shift to a COVID-19 endemic approach by the end of the month? What are your thoughts on this?
I guess everybody has a different take on it. To me, I don't think it is time to move into a period of endemicity. And an endemic phase is quite a long phase. That means that we must see sustained decrease in transmission, and that there should be no variant of concern that we would see in the next couple of months before we even move into an endemic situation. It's very difficult to say, all right, we have lower cases, we had Omicron, it's mild, and therefore we're now endemic. No, it's a different story for that, because we really do not know how the virus will eventually behave, particularly with the high transmission rate.
All right. Thank you, Doc, for sharing with us your time and your insights this evening. That's pediatric infectious disease expert, Dr. Benjamin Ko.